Hello students, and welcome to our power off stall execution video. Before we jump into the cockpit, let's quickly discuss the objective of this maneuver and some key factors that we will be focusing on. The objective of a power off stall is to simulate and practice the proper recovery techniques for a stall that may occur during the approach to landing sequence of a flight. In this maneuver execution video, we will not be covering detailed aerodynamics, maneuver diagrams, common student errors, or the ACS standards. This video is to simply explain and demonstrate the execution of the maneuver and will vary based on the aircraft you are flying in. To see all of those additional details we just mentioned and to study this lesson's full-length presentation, podcast, diagrams, flashcards, lesson quiz, and more, look up the Power Off Stalls lesson on our website at wificfi.com. Lastly, before we jump into the cockpit, there are a couple of key factors that we need to cover regarding this maneuver. First, we will be climbed up to a safe altitude in the practice area to perform this stall and stall recovery. Remember, we need to be able to perform the stall and recover above 1,500 feet AGL. So in this example, we'll be in the practice area starting at 2,500 feet AGL. That'll give us 1,000 feet to complete it, and that's plenty. Second, we will complete clearing turns to ensure there is not traffic in our immediate vicinity. Okay, so we're going to do left and right clearing turn, or we might just end up doing a full 180 looking for traffic. Next, we will then configure the aircraft to simulate an approach to landing by slowing the aircraft, extending our flaps and landing gear, if you have extendable landing gear, right, and establishing a stabilized descent, just as you would set up the aircraft if you're on final approach to land. We're going to be slowing the aircraft to about 65 to 70 knots, and our flaps are going to be fully extended. Once we are at our target airspeed and we're on a nice stabilized descent path, right, we're just pretending like we're coming into land. So the airplane's configured for landing, our speed's for landing, we've got a nice stabilized descent for landing. What we're going to do next is we're smoothly going to reduce our throttle to idle and increase our angle of attack to induce the stall. We will acknowledge any stall indications such as the stall warning horn or lights, airplane buffeting, stick shaker, etc., and we will recover at the first indication of a stall by immediately reducing our angle of attack and increasing power to full to begin building our airspeed. As our airspeed builds and we begin climbing away from the simulated runway or terrain, we will retract our flaps incrementally and continue increasing our airspeed to VX or VY as appropriate. Today we're just going to increase our airspeed to VY, and we're going to start that climb out at VY of 74 knots. Lastly, we will climb to the heading and altitude specified by either our flight instructor or our check ride examiner, and we'll reconfigure the aircraft for cruise flight. So let's head out of the airplane, show you how this power off stall works. Alrighty, students, we are here at our airplane. Okay, just kind of want to take you through how we've kind of got the airplane set up, where we're at, and everything like that before we go ahead and do our power off stall. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hop in the cockpit and I'm going to start setting up the aircraft to do a couple little clearing turns for us. Let's go ahead and say we're going to do a clearing turn to the left first. We'll do a 90-degree left turn. Put my heading bug over here on 360. As we're doing these clearing turns, we are obviously looking for traffic, so we got our head up outside the window, looking to make sure we're not going to get in anybody's way or anybody's going to get in our way while we perform this maneuver. Okay, again, you'd be popped up outside, you'd be looking around, you know, left and right, looking for traffic. Now let's go ahead and make a right 90 turn. Let's go ahead and go back to 090 on our heading. The other thing that you can see, since we're in the cockpit here, is that we are at 2,500 feet AGL. So we're 2,500 feet above the ground. That will give us plenty of altitude to safely practice this stall and stall recovery. As we complete our clearing turns here, I like to pick out an outside visual reference point. So I'm gonna do, let's see, I might even go just a little bit further to the right on my heading. Just this kind of block of buildings right here over on the beach. So I'm gonna kind of set up my heading for that. Maybe even go left just a tad. And that is going to be my outside visual reference point for this maneuver. That way, when I'm looking outside, I know if I'm straight on my heading or not. Next, you can do this maneuver either straight ahead or in a turn, like in a bank to the left or the right. For this example, we're just going to go ahead and do it straight ahead. So what we're going to do, once I kick off the autopilot here, we're going to bring our power back. We're going to hold altitude initially. As we slow down, we'll start extending our flaps and everything like that, and then we'll begin a nice stabilized descent at between 65 to 70. So our flaps will be fully extended. We'll have a stabilized descent at 65 to 70 knots. And once we have that, you know, it's like just like we're coming in for landing, right? That's what we're simulating. Once we've got all that set up, we'll go ahead and reduce our throttle nice and smoothly back to idle. We'll increase our angle of attack to induce that stall. And once it occurs, then we'll do the stall recovery. So we'll go ahead and just kind of walk you through that as we go. So let me go ahead where we're at here. Kick off our autopilot and everything. I'm first just gonna bring my power back. Again, we're holding altitude here, right? So that we can slow down. I'm gonna bring it back to about 17 to 1800 RPM or so. And I'm gonna extend my first notch of flaps. Alright, slowing down still. Now that we're in our wide arc, I'll extend my second notch of flaps. That's the wide arc on the airspeed tape over there. And then lastly, we'll go ahead and extend our flaps all the way to full. Now that our flaps are extended to full, we'll go ahead, like I said, begin a nice, easy, gentle, stabilized descent, just as if we were coming into landing. So you can see we're doing 500 to 600 feet per minute or so. It looks like, yeah, 600 feet per minute descent. On our tape, we're at 70 knots, and we are fully configured as if we were coming into land. So now we're going to simulate that we're bringing our power back to idle and getting into that flare. So I'm going to gently bring that power back to idle, and I'm just going to hold the nose of the aircraft up about 5 degrees above the horizon and wait for the first stall indication. At the first indication of a stall, which will most likely be the horn, we'll go ahead and lower our angle of attack and recover. So holding it up. There's our horn, so we're going to go ahead and nose the aircraft over. We're going to start speeding up here. As we're speeding up, we're going to start to retract our flaps. And we're climbing up, out, and away from the runway, so you can see we have a positive rate of climb on our airspeed. We're at that 74 knots for our VY. To climb up and away from our obstacles, we're going to get our flaps all the way up to clean. And continue our climb out. We'll say that we're going to climb back to, maybe your flight instructor, your check ride examiner asks you to climb back up to that 2,500 feet. So we'll go ahead and climb back up to 2,500. We're still on our heading and everything's looking good. Bring that nose down just a little bit, and we will reconfigure the aircraft for our cruise flight right here at that 2,500 RPM. So you guys can see that that's how you do that power off stall. Okay, the power off stall and the recovery. Just make sure that you get that nose down quick. You increase that power as you start to speed up and climb out. You get that positive rate of climb, retract those flaps, and continue that climb back up to a safe altitude. So I think that's it for our power off stalls execution video. Thanks for joining us, guys, and we will see you on the next one soon.